Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Red Donkey Projections. I'm Eric, and we have Lucas as always.
Hey everyone.
Today is July 16th, 2021, and today we're going to be talking about the best Republican candidates to run in contested states for the 2022 Senate races. We picked 5 states to talk about, and we're going to go a bit in depth in each state and talk about the best Republican candidate given, previous elections, their reputation, and just their general favorability in the state.
And with that being said, let's get right into it. So we've got mapped here the 5 main competitive races that we have chosen to take a look at. And we're going to first start with the state of Nevada. And the candidate that we chose for the Republicans was Brian Sandoval. So first of all, he is the former governor, which means that he does have a lot of name recognition. He actually served until very recently before being succeeded by Steve Sisolak. He also is a pretty moderate Republican, which could work well in a state like Nevada, which is pretty bluish, but it is still a swing state, but it is kind of to the left. So kind of like a New Hampshire situation. So being a moderate might work. He also has a lot of name recognition. I don't know if I said that already, but a lot of people do know him and they might vote for him if he were to run. I do want to say though quickly that he will not be running. He announced that he wouldn't be running for the Senate seat. Adam Laxalt instead, the current Attorney General, will be running for the seat. But honestly, he has almost no chance of winning. If Brian Sandoval ran, Catherine Cortez Masto would have had big issues because he is a pretty good candidate to run in a state like Nevada. For example, in 2014, he ran for governor, even though, the Democratic candidate was, I don't believe he was that good. Where was it? It was Bob Goodman. He wasn't too great of a candidate. However, Brian Sandoval absolutely won in a landslide. 2010, same thing. But again, this is a little bit different because these two were red waves years. Oh, wow, I didn't notice that. But he defeated Roy Reid, who was Harry Reid's son. But he won in huge margins. So if you would have ran in, if you were to run in 2022, he would have done very well. And the next state we have up is Arizona, and we chose Kimberly Yee. We know that she is running for governor. She's not running for Senate, but she is undoubtedly probably the best Republican candidate that Republicans can run for the seat against Mark Kelly. Now, the thing is, she is running much more pro-Trump for governor than I kind of expected her to, because she did do very well in Arizona. And again, Arizona isn't a very pro-Trump state. Instead, they're more of those ancestral Republicans that are more with the establishment, like John McCain. But Kimberly Yee, it's funny because I don't think she can even win the primary in the Senate, which is because she is probably the only good candidate to run for Senate. And why do we think this? It's because, and I've got a map here from ACO on Twitter, credit to him, but he does a comparison between the 2018 Senate election in Arizona. This was between Kirsten Sinema and Martha McSally, and also the Arizona treasurer election. As you can see, Kimberly Yee won by 8.5%. And this is despite the fact that at the top of the ticket, Martha McSally lost by 2.3 points. So she outran Martha McSally by around 11 points, which is quite impressive in any state for this to happen. And I'll hand it over to Eric now for New Hampshire.
So the Republican candidate that we chose, the best Republican candidate that we chose to run in the New Hampshire Senate race was Chris Sununu. There's honestly no other option. He, blows everyone out of the water because for a few reasons. One, he's the current governor, so he, on the experience level, is already well off as compared to any other potential candidate. Second of all, as we've said multiple times, and probably his greatest advantage is that he's very, very popular. His approval rating is extremely high in the state of New Hampshire, 72%. For context, Joe Biden right now is around the 50s area, and he probably won't be able to go any higher than that. And meanwhile, we have Chris Sununu here in the state of New Hampshire with 72%, which is, a soaring number. And other reasons is that he's pretty moderate, but he supported Trump when a lot of other Northeast Republican governors didn't, such as in Massachusetts and in Vermont, which could hurt him in the race. But honestly, as I said, his popularity overrides pretty much any potential disadvantages. And to reinforce his popularity, he won New Hampshire Senate race in a complete landslide of about 30 percentage points, while Joe Biden, the Democrat, won the state with around 7%, which is pretty decent. So you can see that in the presidential race, the margins were a lot tighter, even though New Hampshire is a pretty Democratic state. Meanwhile, Kristen is blowing it out of the water. As I said, he has a lot of name recognition. He's the only Republican, to sum it all up, that can really unseat Maggie Hassan, who is the most likely Democratic candidate. She is the incumbent. So if Chris Sununu decides to run for Senate, which he has not decided yet, and he's taking his nice long time, and he might even still be deciding up until January, he is the only candidate that is going to be able to win over Maggie Hassan. And as we've said in another video, this may be the most consequential Senate race because of his popularity.
That's correct. And the next state is the state of Pennsylvania. We chose Brian Fitzpatrick. I know this does look very, very unlikely right now since Sean Parnell seems to have the Republican support. He's the current representative from the state of Pennsylvania. He is very, very moderate. I would say he's nearly like Susan Collins or even to the left of Susan Collins. I actually have a map here showing from 5:30 Brian Fitzpatrick's the percentage of his votes that he voted with Joe Biden. He voted 66%. He votes 66% of the time with Joe Biden. So he's actually quite close to Jaron Golden. And actually at one point, Brian Fitzpatrick was voting more with Joe Biden than Jared Golden. For example, he voted for, a lot of things that maybe some Republicans voted against, but he ended up voting up for. For example, the money for the transportation water infrastructure, the EPA rule. A lot of, in general, he did vote pretty consistently with Biden. This could very much help him with those moderate suburban voters that Trump might have lost and people really didn't like in 2020. For example, those Philly suburbs that Joe Biden was able to completely flip back. Now, another thing to note is the fact that he actually outran Biden by a whopping 19 points in 2020. Let me pull it up. Yeah, he won his district by 13 points, even though Joe Biden only won the district by 6. So, he clearly is a pretty good candidate, even though he hasn't run and done well statewide. If he were to run, there is still a very, very good chance that he would win the general election. However, of course, since Donald Trump does play a big role in the Republican Party still, it is quite unlikely that he does end up winning a Republican primary because of how moderate he is. So now we're going to head over to.
So the Republican candidate we chose that would be the most ideal to run in the state of Georgia was Herschel Walker. Now, he is not necessarily the best by far. Lucas and I were actually kind of having a bit of trouble picking the best Republican candidate here because, a lot of them didn't have too many advantages that would, be significant enough for a candidate to win out Raphael Warnock, who was going to be the incumbent in this race. The reason why we chose Herschel Walker potentially was because of a Donald Trump backing. I mean, Donald Trump is definitely going to be backing Herschel Walker, and it's a mixed kind of decision because in the Republican primary, this will definitely help Herschel Walker, and given this backing of former President Trump, he is very likely to win the Republican nomination. But from there, that Trump backing may not be as effective when we get to the general election when Herschel Walker may be potentially already running against Raphael Warnock, the Democrat, because we've seen in 2021, how Raphael Warnock was able to beat out Kelly Loeffler, who had Trump's backing. So there's a chance that his backing may not be as effective when we get to the general election, probably because Georgia suburbs really do not like Donald Trump. And, who is Herschel Walker? He was a former NFL player, surprisingly in the state of Texas. He is more of a Texan who was running in the state of Georgia, which is kind of interesting. And of course, the Trump backing, it's a consequential factor. Whether it's a good consequence or a bad consequence, we'll see how it plays out. Maybe he does a few points better in the suburbs compared to Loeffler. Who knows? Perhaps some stronger moderate appeal, because we're really not sure about his exact policies. But if Donald Trump is backing him, he's probably not too much of a moderate. Maybe he has a moderate appeal, as I said. If he were to run more of a moderate campaign, maybe that will appeal to some people. But this really depends on what type of campaign he runs on. So Georgia's kind of up in the air in the Georgia GOP. So we'll see what happens.
And that wraps up the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this episode, please hit the like button. If you like our content, please subscribe. And we'll see you in our next episode tomorrow.
See ya.